Yeah, there's a great interview where Ben is justifying why he fired Candace.
Yeah.
And
the one with Ruben?
Yes, the one with Ruben is great. We should even pick it up and watch it. But what's funny is and I don't know the extent to which Ben is criticized. I know he's very critical of media and media being biased.
Yeah.
But before you have a media platform, it's very easy to critique media. It's very easy to go, look at New York Times, look what you do, and look at Washington Post, look what you do, and you're censoring free speech, you're for censorship. In this conversation, he makes the argument for censorship. He calls it something else.
Yeah, I forget the term. I have it in my phone.
But I don't even think he's using the term right. But he's basically like, there's a window of ideas we accept.
Yes.
And we accept ideas between this, I guess this is, if I get window, you're looking like this. So we accept ideas between here and here. And anything outside of that window, well, you're fireable. That's censorship.
What?
But he's acting as if this is like a justified reason for firing people when you built your identity and platform off of no censorship and freedom of speech and facts don't care about your feelings and all this shit.
It's also funny that window happens to end where his beliefs end.
Isn't
it interesting?
You would say that.
Not being pro-Israel, that's where the window ends. That's also your specific personal belief.
What?
So I just
So
don't
you
see.
can't have an opinion on your platform that is not pro a country that is not ours?
Yeah.
Wait a minute.
Crazy. I wish.
So is
I
the
wanna
Daily
look at
Wire an American media platform or is it an Israeli media platform? I'm just asking.
This guy's cooking.
I'm just asking. If the rule is, I'm just saying, if the rule is you cannot be critical, because he has no problem being very critical of America.
Yep.
He's critical of the left in America. Left is half the country. You have no
half.
problem eviscerating half
That's
of the
the
country.
current party in power.
But you can't criticize Israel as a country. That's just another country, unless you're saying, and you're clearly admitting that the Daily Wire is an arm of the Israeli, I guess, media or propaganda machine. Is that?
Oof.
Are you manipulating the religious right in America? Are you manipulating the right-wing conservatives in America and selling them country western movies and putting on your little cowboy hat and fake moving in Nashville so that you could take all their money and then in the process restricting free speech, one of the core tenets of the American identity? Ben.
Oof.
Benjamin.
What is happening? There's trouble in paradise. What shall we do?
Dove, what's wrong? Are you going to bring this up?
Doug, help us with this whole situation. I don't want this to be true. I want to believe that the Daily Wire is the last bastion of free speech.
Yeah,
That's what I want to believe.
I thought he was absolute
look up the
free
term.
speech.
That's what I considered.
Wasn't he?
No. So his
Overton window.
Wait, are you saying that he's freeing his speech?
Yeah.
The exact thing he's been critical of the left throughout his entire career for?
his position, I thought was
term he used, Overton window.
the Overton window,
That's
yes.
the term.
So I thought the position he took between like platform and publisher, I thought was interesting. Because he's basically saying like he believes that platforms should have free speech because those are town squares. And so like corporate censorship from like Twitter and X or like Instagram and shit like that. He's claiming that that would be a violation of free speech. But he thinks as a publisher, you don't necessarily need to uphold things outside of your editorial view.
Yet he was quite critical when the New York Times fired journalists for publishing Tom Cotton's article.
Right.
See, he was ready. I didn't know this. This motherfucker was ready. I didn't know. I was out. I was going to do other things.
Now that is kind of hypocritical, no?
Seems a bit.
Yeah.
Is to be critical of another platform, right? No, sorry, of another publisher.
Yeah.
For firing someone on the basis of their opinion for an op-ed piece because that opinion did not fit in the Overton window. Yet he is firing people because their opinions do not fit in the Overton window. Now, we could vehemently disagree with the people's opinions that he has fired. I'm sure there are plenty of things that Candace has said that we think are horrible.
Yep.
But that is not the brand you built, my friend.
Correct.
He also claims that it wasn't Israel, though. Like,
Yeah, that's the thing. Is it Israel or is it anti-Semitism?
We can disagree on that. Like, I'm sure you could go at it with him on this, but he claims at the end that it has nothing to do with his position on Israel.
Like-
The reason I bring up Israel is because he himself has tweeted that what is that fucking skeleton looking bitch that's in media? The fuck is her name? Ann Coulter.
Coulter, yeah.
Ann Coulter was doing this thing. where instead of calling Jews Jews, she calls them globalists. But then she was like, I think Matthew Tucker's half globalist.
She's funny, man.
You know, she kind of got
funny.
I'm
she,
using
whatever.
it. That's
She's
great.
inflammatory as hell, but she's funny. So
During the debates when Vivek and Nikki Haley were going at it, she tweeted to her followers, "Guys, don't get involved. This is Hindu business, not our fight."
it's
Nikki
funny.
Haley's Christian, sick Christian.
It's funny though. Anyway, so
Yeah, it's so funny.
but what the fuck was I just saying?
The skeleton bitch.
And-
Oh yeah. So
Globalist,
he
yeah.
was like, she says incredibly anti-Semitic things, but she's pro-Israel, so I can look past it all. Now, I don't think she's working for the Daily Wire at that moment, but that's his basic position. Hey, freedom of speech is totally down as long as you're pro-Israel. And I guess Han is.
Seems so, Dove.
I'm just saying you should be able to. What do you think, Duff?
I'll lean to the point of
We're
I
very
think
fortunate to
he's-
have a globalist on this podcast.
Exactly.
So tell us what you think.
I was going to say, I think the whole Candace thing is closer to a little anti-Semitism play over the Israel thing. He hasn't historically been that guy, like the spearhead of like pro-Israel things. I think it's been more of, to your point, it's
Yeah, I think
the
it's
platform protecting that. Thank you, Mark. Thank you.
He's
Captain.
racist.
Can you tell me? Because I've looked into it and I haven't found anything outright anti-Semitic that Candace said. Can you tell me some? Because the article
She
I saw,
liked the very anti-Semitic trope.
which was
I think it was.
she liked a tweet.
She liked a comment.
Someone said that Rabbi Shmuley was drunk off Christian blood or something to that effect.
Yeah.
And she liked it. And then apparently she had
But-
been like defensive of Kanye.
I think she's also been like defensive of Hitler.
Well, she had admired, like, it's all like nuanced. I haven't listened to every single little thing,
Yeah.
but like the general feeling is like she was not outraged by what Kanye had said and was kind of like trying to defend him from the media and had said like there's like rings of people in Hollywood that are, committing, violence against people that are acting like gangs. That
It
are,
is
like,
interesting timing to suddenly
why
get
she-
offended by Kanye, isn't
Yeah.
it?
Because that was.
Slavery was a choice. She probably didn't have a problem with that, I'm assuming, and you wouldn't. Ben Shapiro, I don't think would have been like, whoa. Slavery is reprehensible, as was the Holocaust, but slavery is reprehensible. How can you say it was a choice? These people they didn't choose to come on these ships and do this.
And why would she be getting fired now for the things Kanye said? Like, I think it was a year and a half ago.
That's also very true.
Well, it was like through November that she was like defending him and obviously I think the Israel stuff like lit her up. On
yeah.
fire.
The comments-
and then she was going back and forth with other co-hosts. I think it was like Decorum also. She was like calling out Shapiro, being like, "Oh, he's annoying." Like,
She's also their biggest show that's not Ben Shapiro. She's massive. She's the biggest star on the platform that is not a owner of the platform. I think Ben is one of the owners. So you have a very tricky thing where your base, the people consuming your content, are equally drawn to her than they are to Ben. Potentially could go even more. You might have to nip that before she can take a stranglehold of the identity of your platform. So I think that it's not just, you said something bad. I think it's a trend and seeing this unstoppable force, because Candace is unstoppable.
Yeah.
Say what you want about Candace.
Yeah.
She's not
Yeah.
afraid of nobody. She will say whatever the
She's
fuck she wants to
smart
say.
enough.
She will debate any
Yeah.
single person. She'll go out there and do it, right? Ben Shapiro is debating college kids.
Yeah.
Let's just be honest, right? It's like anytime he debates somebody who's like worthy, he either gets washed or bare minimum stalemate. I've never seen him actually win a debate against somebody who's like educated in the matter, right? So
I think he can body guys like Finkelstein. I'm sorry.
he won't do it. Finkelstein has been asking him nonstop. He refused to do it.
Scared.
He is scared. Of course he's scared. But now
You want-
Finkelstein has dedicated his life to this. I don't think Ben has dedicated his life to this. But Finkelstein has been
I
calling
think he
him
did
out
well
to debate.
against with Destiny. I mean, they were kind of on the same page. I think.
Destiny
Yeah,
is a,
I mean, come on.
the guy
Smart
plays
dude.
guitar on the internet.
Smart dude.
The fact that no, I'm not saying he's not smart, but I'm saying he has not dedicated his life to this. The fact that he's just picking up this hobby and he's out there debating the top dudes in this realm.
I don't know his content, but I would assume Destiny's life is not dedicated to this. His name is Destiny. It's a YouTube handle that I assume he uses for other things beyond this. So if Ben Shapiro is stalemating a guy who doesn't dedicate himself to this, that's not great for Ben Shapiro.
I think they were on the same side.
Oh.
It was
on that
Destiny
part.
was debating Finkelstein.
But everything else, I mean, Destiny knows how to debate.
Yeah, no, he will read the stuff, and he is amazing retention. Every time I see him, he has like this great recall. So it seems like if he reads something, it's locked in forever. Doesn't matter. That being said, what was the argument? What were we just talking about?
Ben Shapiro getting washed and Candace Owens is getting
Yeah,
big.
it's an unstoppable force. So I think what they're doing is they were worried that she was a runaway train with the brand. That's
And
what
she
I
was
think.
also souring his reputation within the brand.
Within the brand.
To them.
So you have the person
okay.
who owns it, who should be the leader of it, who is going to lead the identity of the brand, right? Is now wavering in their opinions on the, well, not in their influence within the brand. And there's this new source that is changing the course of the brand. The reason you start a media platform is you want to have some control and power. Nobody starts a media platform because like, I love the news. You want to, in the most altruistic sense, you want to influence the course of the country that you are in, right?
Yeah.
And you want the good ideas to win. That's the best case scenario. What it most likely is, hey, we got to manipulate these people into thinking what we want so that, we can live in a place that is beneficial for us. And I think that's what the Koch brothers do. And that's what I'm sure Peter Thiel does. And that's what I'm sure the fucking Bill Gates does. And that's what I'm sure the Washington Post is for Jeff Bezos. Like, that's the point of media, is control. And they were losing control of their platform.
Yeah.
So consumers of Daily Wire, are they like looking at them like they're funny in the light now? Like, yo, you guys fired
That's
somebody
what I
for
would
something
think.
they
It
said?
seems like it's split.
My concern about, I think the biggest concern about the Daily Wire is that their consumers, Ben doesn't represent their consumers. Back when it was just liberal versus conservative, he was this incredible soundbite machine for conservative talking points, and he was brave, and he would say anything, and he would go out there and he'd interview a trans person and fucking rip them apart. Like, he basically had every single nugget ready, locked and loaded, so that all these people who were conservative were now like, oh, you've done the intellectual heavy lifting for me. Great, give me all those talking points. I can use them. Now there seems to be a little bit of, especially after October 7th, a little bit of division in the conservative party.
And the Democrat Party.
And the
as well.
Democrat, for sure.
Yeah.
So there's a little bit of division, right? And now you're seeing this culture war that's happening within politics. Because the reality is the right-wing conservative Christians that were following Ben were following because he was giving them the artillery to be the most eloquent, articulate conservative that they could be. Well, he's not giving them the arguments for what they feel now.
Yeah.
And for what some of them feel now. And Candace might be giving them the arguments for what some of them feel now. So you got to nip that in the bud. But he's not representative of this middle America, salt of the earth guy. The guy, I think he grew up in LA, went to Harvard. Like, he's never lived a life that is representative of them at all. He has no clue who they are, what they are.
Does Candace represent them though?
I'm not saying Candace does. I don't know her background. What I'm saying is he was representing what they needed when they needed arguments.
Yeah.
Now the culture war has shifted. Now they might need justification for Christianity. There's an attack on Christianity. Trans Day is on the same day as Easter. Christians might feel a little bit like they need more representation. They're not going to get that from the Jewish guy.
Yeah. It's a good point.
This is kind of how I'm seeing this map out. So I don't think it's that she said something wrong. I think that she was running away with that platform. And it was a matter of fucking time, and there's nothing that he could do about it. He can't beat her on ideas. He can't beat her on being thought-provoking. He's way less brave now that he has a media conglomerate. She doesn't have a media conglomerate.
And he's tied to a belief. He is pro-Israel. Candace doesn't seem to be, she doesn't have a core belief that she will not waver on, whether right or wrong or whatever. She'll go with the win.
She will. The
And
president
argue the
of
fuck out of
France's wife is a man.
And
She's
argue the
she's
fuck
us. We will say anything.
Yeah.
No, son, I'm saying, but we're a comedy platform that's saying shit to be funny. She is a news platform that's like, I think it's a guy.
And there's
She says it's hilarious. She goes, "I'll stake my whole career on this one claim."
She-
Like, yo, that is the level of confidence I've never had in anything.
Wow.
That is beautiful.
Wow.
That's amazing.
I genuinely, I think that's my thing. I think Daily Wire was terrified that she was running away with the platform.
Yeah, well, but again, he can't say anything anti-Israel. He's got to be very. She doesn't have those guardrails.
Yeah,
she
sure.
says whatever
So-
the fuck she wants at all times.
Anti-Israel is maybe even a word we could change, like critical of the country Israel.
Okay.
And it is just because I don't want to put any stigma on anything. Like, every country, America should be criticized.
Yep.
Israel should be criticized.
fair.
Saudi Arabia should be criticized. England should be criticized. Sri Lanka should be.
Fine.
And if you, a lot of people probably even listening don't even have Jewish friends. If you had Jewish friends, you would know they are more critical of Israel than any of you guys are because you don't even know much about fucking Israel.
Yeah.
So the idea that there's this like unanimous support and every single Jewish person feels the exact same way about Israel is not the case at all.
Yeah.
But there does seem to be that hypersensitivity when there is critique of Israel, that it is turned into anti-Semitism. Some people are critical of Israel because they are anti-Semites.
Absolutely.
And some people are critical of Israel because there's
things to criticize.
Things to criticize.
Frankly. So that's the article I read.
And I could also say, yes, we know that Ben Shapiro probably has a bias towards support. There must be something there. But do you think then that it still means everything that he's built and supported for the conservative American community is just thrown out because he still has this little bias? Like, no, I think he could still be a great representative for everything. I really believe that he sticks to American values, believes in all things conservatism. And yeah, he has a little bias, but he's done a pretty good job to take the other side and stay consistent.
Here's what it undermines.
I think he's learning the limitations of his conservatism.
And it undermines the thing that it was built on, which was seemingly presented front-facing, free speech. We're not squashing ideas here just because we don't agree with them, etc. Now you seem to be doing that. So that does tear away at that entire foundation.
So the idea
Now, what else are you kind of compromised or wavering on?
Now I look at you as the pro-Israel news source.
And that's your design. You didn't have enough confidence in the American system and the fundamental core tenet of free speech. You didn't have the confidence in it to just let it happen. You pretended you did when it was beneficial to you. But once there was a moment where having that true free speech could take your platform and lead it in a different direction, you immediately did what every platform does, which is control the speech. And now you're just learning what it is to own a media company. And owning a media company is not free speech. Low key, that's why Elon might be the GOAT. Now, granted, it's different when you have a, what is it called? A publisher?
Publisher.
Sorry, so I might have messed up those words. But like, Elon is literally allowing free speech. And it's fucking chaos on Twitter. It's fire. It's fire, but it's chaos. But that's what free speech is. It's fucking chaos.
Now he's saying that he has some people on the platform or that he publishes that have anti-Israel ideas or ideas that are critical of Israel that he disagrees with.
Within the window.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Which is censorship. It's censorship, censorship, censorship. So you cannot act like you are pro free speech completely, like you're an absolutist. You're no longer an absolutist. You are a person that owns a business and you are willing to have censorship in order to make money. Simple as that.
But he said that he was like, we wouldn't have someone on that we publish that has like staunchly pro-abortion ideals. Like we wouldn't contract that person. We wouldn't pay them.
So you're a phony.
The thing I couldn't figure out is whether or not he was
That's a great response.
speech absolutist. I couldn't figure out like his position historically.
Maybe he is a free speech absolutist. Maybe he's not. I don't know. But his platform is a propaganda machine for his beliefs.
God damn.
Which is what media platforms are. But now don't be critical for the New York Times leaning left or Washington Post protecting Amazon. You can no longer do that. And you have done that in your career.
Yeah, because I looked up the anti-Semitic, and I didn't know she liked, I don't even honestly understand the context of
liking. It was a dumb thing to
drunk on-
like.
Yeah, dumb thing to like, but what she said,
I think it was kind of a
what
joke.
she said, I did not see. There's this idea that exists, not from most Jewish people I know, Dove has never said this, but the idea of being critical, being anti-Israeli government is somehow anti-Semitic. And the article I read literally was like, the anti-Semitic hate speech of Candace Owens saying what's happening to the people in Gaza is a genocide committed by the government of Israel. That's not anti-Semitic. That's not. That's an opinion that there is some fact to support the opinion. Whether you agree or disagree, it's an opinion rooted in something you're saying.
If I'm going to defend Jewish people here, is that every anti-Semite is critical of Israel. So the knee-jerk reaction is when you hear critique of it, you're like, oh, this is just how they frame their anti-Semitism so it doesn't seem as bad.
Yeah.
So,
every anti-Semitic person is anti-Israel. Every person who's anti-Israeli government is not anti-Semitic. 100%.
But I understand that knee-jerk protective instinct, right? And especially historically what the people have gone through. There is that knee-jerk protective instinct. Anytime you hear these buzzwords, you're like, here it comes. This is how it happens.
And to their credit, when October 7th happened and I saw some of the videos of people in Australia chanting like gas the Jew, it was like, oh, this anti-Semitism is a real fucking thing.
Yeah.
And I always just kind of was like, as a minority, I think we're just like, that shit is real.
Yeah.
But just because I acknowledge that that's real and that's fucked up doesn't mean I'm automatically going to support everything that this government does. That government does not represent all of you. You do not stand for what that government does. These are two different entities.
Doug, I'm curious, are there any Jewish people that feel what's happening in Gaza is a genocide?
There's plenty of the not in my
I've heard
name.
plenty of Jewish people say it's fucked up. I hate this.
Yeah, there's a lot of Jews that are very.
But
It's, we've gone through these opinions
before.
and they can suck it. But let me go back to just with Ben and one thing. I can agree. Sure, he's shown with his platform he is not the free speech absolutist that maybe he says he is. Agree completely. But if having one bias for an anomaly of an insane year that's happened where it feels like the world is against one people or just they felt like really alone in this position, to say that he's not done and stayed consistent on a lot of true American conservative values, and that's still a big part of his brand, like that's where I disagree. But I'll still admit the bias.
I don't know what you just said.
I said that. I really did.
He's not. He's
really
not
did.
a free speech absolutist. He's not a good conservative.
Just fucking.
Is he not a good conservative?
What fucking
Is he not a good conservative?
gobbledygook just came out of
Hey,
his mouth?
we got a cam on him. Can we just put an Israeli flag over his fucking mouth the whole time he's talking?
Put it right here.
First of all,
Is he not a good conservative?
But hold on. Jews just became conservative October 8th. This idea that like what a good conservative is bullshit. You don't understand what it means to be a good conservative. Also, what it is to be like half of my family is conservative and like traditional, like old school American Republican, right? They're way different than religious Christian conservatives that are different than maybe Catholic,
Southern Baptist conservative,
like,
different things.
There's all
You're
these
talking
different
LA,
versions of
New
them.
York Jews that just became conservative October 8th.
That's what I'm saying. So you guys don't know.
Hey,
what
buddy,
it is.
buddy, where else are the Jews? I grew up in Texas. I didn't even know how to tell a guy was Jewish.
Do you know how many Jews support Trump, support everything that?
But
Like,
that
what are we
is
talking
because
about?
of the support of Israel, and
Yes,
they were
thank
critical.
you. And you've told me that exact
the
thing.
Obama's administration.
Also, the rich ones.
Okay, but it doesn't matter. Those things don't matter. Those things don't matter. Don't spiral here. Don't spiral here. What I'm trying to say is what it means to be a good conservative. It's like saying, this is the most extreme example, but it's just like, like I mostly didn't fuck kids. Do you know what I mean? Like, that's what you're saying. Like, he's pretty good. It's like, no. Yeah. If you are, remember, Ben is the conservative. I'm not talking about, like, he can't waver. It's like finding out Dr. Umar Johnson had sex with a white girl. You go, what?
What?
Even one would make you discredit everything.
Everything.
So this...
But can't you just, like, to what Mark said about being an absolutist.
Hold on. Wavering on the most important conservative point of his career, which is censorship.
That's an important
and free
point.
speech. This is what his career is built on. He is a journalist, a person in media, and completely wavering and being a hypocrite on it, to me, doesn't make you go, oh, well, it's just whatever. It just shows an extreme bias. And that extreme bias is something that I think the public should be aware of.
I'm curious. We don't know the details of Candace's contract, but do you think she has a case for like wrongful termination?
I don't.
I
think they mutually agree.
Yeah, I think we don't know if she got fired for sure. I think that's all still kind of murky. Maybe she left, maybe she got fired, whatever. But it's clear this was an issue for Ben, and I think that's what our issue is with him. Because again, you position yourself as the absolutist of this thing, the beacon of free speech. Mm-hmm. Now suddenly you have a problem with somebody who doesn't agree with something you believe in.
Yeah.
So that's where I think our issue is.
What was his thing with Cotton, the New York Times guy?
So Tom Cotton wrote an op-ed piece that the New York Times
really
published.
Conservative last name, to be honest with you.
And the New York Times fired 2 editors for publishing it because they felt like the piece was not in their, what is that window?
Overton window.
Overton window. So they fired 2 editors. And I believe Ben really, ran them the riot act for doing that. Like, this is censorship. This is breaking down free speech. The op-ed is not representative of the New York Times. It is a editorial piece. This is literally a section for not the opinions of the New York Times. And he, I think, rightfully criticized them. I would love to see, even if it's a horrible article we all disagree with, it'd be nice to see these different ideas out there to get the sense that, like, we do have this freedom of speech protected by the media. So I think he rightfully was very critical. And now he's admitting that he has an Overton window and that pieces that are outside of that Overton window or talent outside of that Overton window will not be hired by his, him as a publisher.
If he had said...
So to me, sorry, so to me, that is blatant bias and hypocrisy. And he's made a career calling people out for being blatantly biased and hypocritical. You know, if you want to have no standards to uphold, be a comedian. Do you know what I mean? Just be a clown like us. It's very easy. But if you want to rile people up based on their conservatism and what is this country happening, like freedom of speech, we got to fight for the ideals of this American people and make all your fucking cowboy hat movies.
Yeah.
To specifically talk to a group of people. We know exactly what's going on. Guy never been on a horse in his life. Right? They know exactly what's happening. And then you fall short of your own expectations for other publishers. I think it's fair game to be criticized.
Yeah, absolutely. I don't remember what I was going to say, but yeah, I agree with that.
And even if it's not, we don't care.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah, that's the best
You know what I
argument.
mean? Christ is king. No.